So in this tutorial, you're going to learn how to make an input trigger that triggers a line trace, that when you hit this actor, it switches the light on and off. So let's go. So to do this, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need the input trigger, which is going to be the button that we press to interact with the light switch. We're going to need the line trace logic to allow it to communicate with the light switch from the player. We're going to need the actual light switch blueprint itself. We're going to make a couple of materials to add to the light switch, and then we have to make the logic for the light switch to turn on and off. So to start with, we're going to go into our content drawer and we're going to go to input. We're going to go to actions and we're going to right click. We go to input action, and then IA_interact. And then go to the folder above onto input, IMC default. And on this bit, press plus and see it says none. We're going to select the one that we just made, IA interact. I see it comes up like this. And now what we want to do, we want to assign the key that we want to press. On the keyboard, it could be the E key. And then add another one for the controller. And on the controller, it can just be the A key or the, yeah, A key, gamepad. Face button, bottom. Press save, and then that's done. Right, now we're gonna go into our third person character, or you might be on first person character or whatever. And if you go to your viewport, on mine, I've got this arrow. This arrow is going to be where the line trace starts. If you haven't got an arrow, just go up to this add button here and type arrow. And it sort of comes at the, if it's attached to the capsule component, this one here, it will sort of be in the middle. If you attach it to your mesh, it will see it's at the same place it just was, but now it's at 90 over here, rotation 90. So these numbers over here are important to where this arrow are, but not super important. It's just going to be where your line trace starts. I'm going to delete that arrow there. You kind of want to adjust it so it's kind of in the middle. And then go into your event graph and then find an empty space. Don't worry about all this code in here. That's just other tutorials that I've been doing. So just find an empty space and then right click, custom event, add custom event. And we're going to call this interact line trace. And then from here, come out of this and put line trace by channel. And see it needs a start point and an end point. Right, the arrow that we just made, bring that in and put get world location. That's going to be its start point, right? Come back off it. Out of the arrow again, put get world rotation. Out of this, get forward vector. And now this will be how far the line trace goes ahead of us. So let's just say multiply. Yeah, so now you come out of that and put multiply. Turn this on this button here, right click and turn it to a float and say let's multiply it by 900. Now let's put 1200. And then that gets added. So out of the arrow's world location, add that to the arrow's world rotation plus a forward vector multiplied by 1200. Add them two together and that's the end, right? Compile and save. If we put draw debug time for duration, this will just show us the line trace. So now remember the input action that we made. If we right click here, IA_interact, interact. And I've started, come out of this, and we're going to call this interact line trace. Interact line trace is there for us. So if we compile and save, if we play the game, when we press the E key, the line trace comes off. See that red line? There's no code in that line trace yet though, but we've got the line trace running. What we need to do is on this out hit, come out of out hit of the line trace, break hit result. Out of return value, branch. And then out of hit actor, right click this and put promote to variable. So it's line trace, it's starting from there, it's going to there. It's asking if it hits something. If it does, it's going to be this hit actor here. Right, so now this line trace isn't really doing anything at all at the moment. We're going to make the blueprint for the light. So now we go down to our content drawer. Let's just make a new folder, right click, new folder. I'll just call this tests. You can call it what you want. Double click to open it up. And then we're going to right click here and we're going to make a blueprint class as an actor. And we're going to call this lights BP. We're going to double click that to open it. In here, we're going to add a static mesh. And then we'll just say this can be a cube, say for example. So the reason why it's a static mesh, I mean, you can just add, like, so I could just delete this. Let's just delete that and add a static mesh. I mean, add a cube. This cube is still a static mesh, so I can still change whatever value this is over here. Look, it doesn't have to be a cube, even though it says cube there. It can be a cylinder, and it will just change to a cylinder. So just because it says cube there, it doesn't have to be a cube. The important thing is whatever it is over here. So anyway, for this cube, we're going to make this 0.1. So it's like that. Let's make it, say, 0.5 by 0.5. And then we're going to, on the cube again, Control C, Control V to add another cube. And then we're going to bring this cube just a little bit in front. But we don't want it that much in front. See, it's gone 10 over there. Let's put it at like 3. Right, but we're going to make this one smaller, so 0.4 by 0.4. If your screen's navigating really fast, you can just turn the speed down a little bit. So you go up here and turn it down. Right, so because we've made it smaller, it's gone in more. So let's put that to, say, 3. So this second cube is 3 away from the center. The center is this cube at 0, 0, 0. Right, so this is going to be the light switch. Right, and we're just going to make a massive light switch. It's not really going to be a brilliant sort of design. We're going to make a couple of materials for this light switch. Go back into our content drawer, right click, material, and just call this lights underscore M. Double click on this. And then on base color, put promote to parameter, and it will just give you a constant free vector. That's just going to be a color. And then out of this color, drag out of it and type multiply and get a multiply node. Drag that into the emissive color, and then right click on this B and put promote to parameter, and then call this parameter brightness. Apply and save, and you can close that down. And then right click on this material that we just made and put create material instance. Call this light off. underscore mi, not m, and then right click on the first one you made again, create another material instance, call this light on underscore mi. Right, and then we're going to go to light off, double click that, and we're going to put base color, tick the base color, and just put that to say a white, and you can make it slightly yellow if you want. Or we could even make it say red, slightly red. Brightness 0. And then the second cube that we made, the smaller one, apply that material we just made. So you can click, because we were just working on this material, lights off. You can make this blue here, click that, and then you can go there and you see this arrow, you can click it and it'll be the red one. So you know it's made the red one. Right, and now go back into your content drawer, on light on, click back in there, go to base color, make it a red again. But this time we're going to make the brightness, say 2.5, and now it'll be like a glow. Compile, save. Right, we've not applied the bright one, we haven't applied yet, but we're going to do that with the code and stuff. Just leave it as it is now. Go up to add and go point light. Right, now we've got a light. Compile and save. We're going to dot that across, grab that left click and drag it across. We're going to drag that blueprint into here. So the lights blueprint that we just made, you might need to turn it around. Press E for rotation and turn it around to 180. So now we've just got a little light switch that doesn't really do anything. The light's constantly on. If we walk over to it, just a tiny little light switch with the light on, not doing anything. Right, so on the lights that we're working on, the blueprint, go to your event graph. And the point light that we just made, drag it off. If it's attached to this cube, drag it off there. We don't really need it. So you can just left click and sort of drag it. See, so if I drag it back onto the cube, it's attaching it. But we don't really want it to be attached. So if you find that it's got this little arrow on it, drag it off. Them arrows are very, like, when you're attaching stuff as parents and stuff, it can be very useful for scale and rotations and stuff, but we don't really need it. We want to be able to move that light around wherever you want. Basically, if I attach this to the cube, when I move this cube, the light will move as well. But anything that's underneath something with the arrow like that means it's attached to it. So wherever this cube moves, the thing below it will move. Whatever scale this is, it will change the scale of that. So we don't really want that to be doing that. So we just take it off. Right, so now, so the point light, right, it's always on. If we look in our game, the light is on there. So we go back to our lights. What we're going to do is we're going to put visible. And see, it's saying it's true, it's visible. We're going to click that to untrue. Right? Compile and save. So now in our game, look, the light isn't on. Go down to your content drawer again. Right click and go to blueprint interface, and we're going to call this interacting underscore BPI for blueprint interface. You don't have to call it interacting, it's just that I've called another thing interact. You can call it whatever you want, but you do need to remember what you call things. So on this new function, see, it's just called new function. Let's just call this is interact. Compile and save. And now you can just close that down. All we've had to do in this is just name this is interact. And that's done. Compile, save, close down. Right, now we go back to our light thing that we just made. On this bit here, class settings, click this bit, class settings, right? And then implemented interfaces, no interfaces. Click here and type in interacting, the one that we just made. See, interacting BPI. So it is implementing the interacting BPI interface. Compile and save. You can go back to your class defaults at the top. And so on here now, if you go to the left, we have that interface is interact. So go to your event graph. You can get rid of event tick and event begin overlap. Double click on this is interact. And now it's got an event for this. What we're going to do is whenever this event is called, we're going to turn the point light on. So you can drag your point light and put set visibility. And we're going to make this true now because we turned it off, remember. So as default, this point light is off. Whenever this interact is called, it's going to be on. So now what we need to do is we need to do the code for our line trace on our character. So on our third person character, go back to the line trace and on this hit actor, drag off this and put is interact. See, and it says is interact message. So basically this line trace, if it hits something, it's going to ask is interact. It's going to do it like that. You can put does actor implement or interface, but we'll just do it like this for now. So go to third person. If I go over to this light switch now, it's off, and I press my E key. It's the trigger's not getting it right. So it's because I wasn't aiming it properly. Then that's why it weren't working. But if you look, so if I go right in front of it like this, and it turns the light on. Right, but we want it to turn off and on. So we're going to go back to the light that we just made. Right, we've got the logic. We know that it works when we press the E key. We know that we can actually make it do something. So what we're going to do is on event interact, we're going to come off this and type flip flop. So what we're going to do now is we're going to build up the code, make it a bit more fancy and stuff. It's kind of done now, but we're going to do more stuff. And we're going to grab that, Control C, Control V, and we can put new visibility to false. So basically it's going to be like a flip flop now. It's going to, when you press it once, it's going to turn it on. When you press it again, it's going to turn it off. That's a very simple thing. So there you go, right? But now because we've got that code set up, right, we can do all sorts of stuff. So we can come out of the first one, put play sound 2D, and then on this we can put type click and the click on button. Control C, Control V to duplicate it. Put it on the next one. And now if we go to the light, we can also remember when we made the two materials, the light off and light on, right? So now we can get the first cube that has got the light off material, drag that in, set material, go back into your content drawer, light on, and then press this little arrow. Control C, Control V, light off, press this little arrow. I mean, you can just type it in there if you want. If you know what the name of it is, you can scroll through them. You know, you don't have to press that little arrow, but once you know where your materials are and stuff, some shortcuts are better than others. So it's just when you get used to stuff, you do it different ways. But yeah, there's a million ways to do everything in Unreal Engine. So now when we, so now look, so we've set the, when we press it, it's going to do the click sound. It's going to set the light to be visible, and it's going to change the material on this one cube to be the lights on material. When we press it again, it's going to click button, turn the light off, and put the material back to lights off material. So yeah, that's kind of it, right? The reason why this, I wanted, so someone asked me to do this tutorial, and the reason why I thought this tutorial was an important one to do is because this is kind of how you do everything. So, I mean, this static mesh is just a pair of cubes. It's just a cube in a cube, not really super important, but you could, that static mesh could be anything. The important thing that's happening here is that a line trace is triggering this event is interact, and the light on the class settings has this interacting interface in it. So whenever this line trace is triggered, whatever blueprint has this interacting, you can run a code from that event is interact by double clicking use interact. So I could make another blueprint now, for example. I'm going to do it really quick just to show you what I mean. Right, I'm going to right click. This isn't going to be a follow through, but I'm just going to show you what I mean. Actor is going to be called platform. BP, double click. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a quick timeline. If you want to know more about timelines, I do have a tutorial about timelines. I'm going to add a float track. So what I'm doing here is I'm making a timeline to adjust the settings. Put that on time 5. And we're going to put value 400. Compile, save. We're going to go to the class defaults of this platform. We're going to add the interface, interacting BP, compile, save. And remember before in the lights one, we double click that to make the code. I'm now in the platforms one. I'm going to double click the is interact. And then from is interact, I'm grabbing that timeline that I just made. We're going to play that timeline from the start. We're going to grab the cube out and we're going to put set relative location, split structure pin. I'm going to move it on the Y, update. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to drag that platform in. So see, what I'm trying to explain is how it's the same as what we just done with the light switch. Once you've got your interact system set up, you can do it with, you can add everything to it if you wanted to. So now with the thing, right? I'm not hitting that. Oh, what a bitch, I ain't done it so. I see. So it's because my line trace isn't hitting, but see, so now it's just moving the platform. So the reason why it's not following the line trace with the arrow is because this arrow is not connected to any parent socket. I could connect it to the follow camera, and then it might move where I'm aiming to the finger. I'm not quite sure actually. Yeah. So look, so if I point this towards there, why is it not doing it now? Oh no, I'm pressing the wrong line trace. Sorry, I got so much code running on this. Right, that's probably why you weren't doing it the first time. Right, so look, yeah, if I press E and look at that, it's going to move the thing. So yeah, basically, it's just that event is interact that we made. But yeah, I hope I hope this tutorial does explain some stuff. But yeah, this is kind of how you do it. Yeah, but thanks to Jaro155 for the request, and thanks for the really nice message as well. But yeah, I hope that does help. it's not a basic thing to do, but I've set up a basic blueprint. But you can change all that stuff. If you wanted to change the light, you go to point light. You've got the intensity of it. You've got the light color of it. Basically, anything that you click over here, the information for it is over here. And don't get too worried about stuff. Just do things slowly and add everything together. When I was first learning, it was like I would learn how to do one thing and then I would connect it to another tutorial, and then I'd learn how to do something else, connect that to something else. So for example, if you was very first starting out and you thought, oh, I can make a light switch and turn it on, but I want to make an actual static mesh light switch and stuff like that, and then just follow a tutorial about Blender and just add everything together and it will all start clicking in. But yeah, I hope that wasn't too complicated or too messy. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.